We are trying to make sure to say we conclude on the issue of assessment. Okay, we conclude on the issue of assessment. Denda is joining us right now. And thank you, Mdenda. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier on, we are trying to look at assessment, okay? We are trying to look at assessment, and we are looking specifically at essay items, okay? So now, when we are looking at essay items, last week we did look at the two broad categories of essay type of questions, which was what, if I may ask, those of you that remember the two broad categories that we looked at. Okay, what are the two broad categories that we looked at? Anyone to give it a try?
Extended response. And
yes, Mwinga, we are getting you. You said extended response, and which other type?
More like the restricted one.
Restricted. Yes, we did look at the extended response and also the restricted one. Okay, what did we say about the extended response? Anyone to give it a try in the group?
I think on the extended response, you said that like everyone, like someone is free to write anything, like they can write anything. They are free to write anything on extended. That's what they.
Okay. Anyone else to also give it a try? Yes, Pethias.
Yeah.
I think on extended, I think this is when a pupil is able to write or to shed more light according to understanding in a given question.
You're breaking up. We're breaking up. Your audio. Try to place your mic properly.
Yeah, I'm saying the extended one. I think this is where a pupil is allowed to shed more light according to his or her own understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other one to talk about extended response? Ziwa?
Yes, yeah, on extended. Yes, on extended, as you said in the previous lecture, you said that a pupil has freedom to answer the question according to the way he understood.
Your audio is quite bad.
It's quite bad?
Yes. Try to...
Yeah, I was saying as we learned in the previous lecture, you said that on this type of assignment, a learner has freedom to answer the question the way he understands it. And yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Just to add on.
Yes.
You can say that this one, extended response, underproves taxonomy on evaluation and synthesis.
Okay. Like yeah, the order. Yes. We talked about the Bloom's taxonomy also taking shape there. Charity, you also have something to say. Charity, please say something. I can see your hand is raised up. Yes, please.
Extended responses are broad.
They are broad in nature.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we thank you very much for those good answers that you've given us. Okay, so we looked at extended response, having the broad perspective. Okay, but the guiding principle about the responses there is let the learners present their work in a logical manner. Are we together? Let them present their work in a logical manner. Okay, so logicalness is very important. Clarity about what they are talking about in essay questions is also very important. Okay, so those are some of the guiding principles that are supposed to. How about restricted response? How about restricted response? What did we talk about restricted response? Yes, Ziwa.
Yes, on restricted response, you say that a learner he cannot answer the question in a broad way whereby that he will be guided on how to write an essay. For example, the teacher can make a question whereby he gives the points where a learner can expand and give the conclusion as well, so that the learner cannot have that broad in answering that question or tackling that question.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Anyone to give it a try?
On restricted response, you also said that they are narrow in nature, and a learner doesn't have that freedom to answer the questions.
Yeah, there are parameters under which a restricted response is supposed to be tackled. And one of those is that you restrict the learner in terms of maybe saying, can you answer this maybe in just 2 sentences, a sentence? Okay. They don't have that freedom, that luxury of time to tackle, maybe to look at it in a, put the introduction, the main body, and even the conclusion. No. Okay. It can just be maybe a paragraph. Can you explain about this? Okay. Explain about input devices. Okay. So, it's just a restricted to a small portion of you giving the learner just to give an answer. An example of those restricted responses are those questions that you find maybe filling in the blanks, okay? Short answer questions, okay? Those are restricted response, okay? Where the learner is just restricted to the amount of space that that particular learner is going to, okay? Of course, guided by the teacher himself, okay? So that is a restricted response, okay? Now, an essay, which is an extended one, is broad, okay? So a learner can maybe have a wider, okay, perspective of looking at things, okay? And then we did look at some of the advantages that also possess. Maybe somebody to tell us advantages of essay questions. What could be some of the advantages of essay questions? Yes. What are some of the advantages? I can see that Pethias, your hand is up. We can't hear you.
Oh, it was just a mistake. Yeah.
Okay, Charity, your hand is also up. Charity, are you able to get us?
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Some of the advantages of essay questions.
Uh-huh.
You said they are easy to construct, and then you also said that a learner is given the chance to express the knowledge and the abilities they have.
Yeah. You see, the learner is able to express themselves freely. That's one other advantage that it has. Okay, and then they are not restricted like maybe say you look at maybe it's just a short answer question, okay, which is maybe one sentence or two sentences like that. Okay, so the learner has got the luxury of time there. Okay, what are some of the disadvantages of essay questions? We did look at these disadvantages. What are some of the disadvantages of the essay questions? There's no one that remembers? Yes, there are two raised hands. Yes, Gentle, you want to say something? Yes, Gentle.
Sir, on the disadvantages of essay type of questions, well, it's mainly based on the giving of marks. For example, if the teacher's mood is quite bad, and he might also give the learners bad marks even when they got the right thing.
Objectiveness of these essay questions. Okay. Yes, Mwinga, you had your hand up. Mwinga.
Yes, it's time consuming in that it requires a learner to explain and compared to unlike the short answer questions.
Yeah, time is a factor there. Okay, so if at all you think to say you can answer essay questions, it just minimally some time, little time. There's an aspect of time that is a factor there. Okay, so that's one other thing. Okay, and then the other thing, Charity, you have your hand raised up. Charity, say something. Okay. In case there's nothing to say, I think let's quickly proceed into today's lecture so that we don't take much of the time. Okay, so today I'm going to guide you on some of the tips that one needs to take into consideration when they are preparing essay type of questions. It's a very, very important art. Okay, so tip number one, okay? Tip number one, okay? Like we are getting a lot of feedback somewhere. Okay, thank you very much for switching off your mic. So number one, formulate the question, okay, so that the task is clearly defined for the students or learners. Okay, so let it not be that ambiguous in nature. Okay, let it not have a broad perspective where there's no clearness in the question. Okay, let it be so clear to the learner to say this is what you want the learners to do. Okay, unlike a situation whereby the learners don't even know what the question is talking about. Okay, so if you look at these two questions that I've provided, okay, example, this is a question that might be undesirable, okay, that you might construct as a teacher. Discuss input device. Okay, input devices, this question is not desirable because input devices are quite broad in nature. Altogether, okay, their input devices may be computer input devices, okay, maybe you could also have entertainment system input devices. Okay, you can also have automotive input devices. That could be okay. So you are looking at it from an entertainment perspective. Okay, entertainment perspective. Okay, it also has input devices. Okay, and then you also have computer devices. Okay. Computer device input devices. Okay, computer. Sorry about the bad handwriting. Okay. So don't construct a question like this, because you are going to have a whole lot of answers that are going to they will talk about TV remote controls, they will talk about the keyboards, they will talk about anything. So when you are trying to construct a question, if you are trying to talk about input devices, computer input devices, talk about computer input devices. Okay, if you are trying to talk about entertainment system input devices, talk about entertainment system input device. If you are trying to look at automotive input devices, talk about automotive input devices. Don't just create a question to say, okay, discuss input devices. Okay, it's too broad in nature. Peter, are you getting us? Peter, are you there? Since Peter is gone now.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. Yeah. So I was saying there are questions that are undesirable, like the one that we are looking at right now. Discuss input devices. Okay. And then a question that could be desirable, okay, is maybe compare the formatting. Okay, you're trying to compare the formatting of Microsoft Word 2017 and Microsoft Word 2010. Okay, so you are being very clear to the learner there. Okay, you are giving the learner ample opportunities to compare the two broad categories, which is the one that was in 2007 and then the other one that is in 2010. So the learner will look at the cutting aspect, the pasting aspect, the copying aspect. Okay, and all other formatting skills that the learner is going to look at. Okay, it's not good to just give the learner just because when you hear to say it's an essay question. Now let them be free to give out whatever they feel like giving out. No, even as they are giving answers, let them have guidelines on how they are going to present their answers. Okay, it's not just a free thing to say, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, and then since it's essay type of question, then that means let's give them whatever they feel like. Anyone who has got a question on or a contribution on tip number 1? Anyone who has got a question, who has got a contribution on tip number 1?
It is clear.
It's clear. Okay. Otilia says all is fine. Thank you very much, Otilia. Okay. Okay, we go to the next next tip. Tip number 2. Okay. tip number 2, very important, ladies and gentlemen. Tip number 2, okay, is very important, very, very important to us. Okay, look at this. Avoid the use of optional questions. Okay, the use of optional questions. When you construct questions, essay questions, maybe in section C, you give your learners, okay, learners are told to choose, okay, they are told to choose, okay, between maybe there are 12 questions, okay, or maybe there are 5 questions. Can you choose at least 3 questions? Okay, it's not advisable, though it's there. Okay, there are such questions, but when you are constructing them, make sure to say they've got the same strength. Okay, same what? Strength. Okay, not because the teachers have got a problem in making sure to say they develop essay questions that are of the same strength. Okay, not this question is you know, you look at the question, this question learners can easily answer it, and then this question learners have got difficulty. So let them have the same strength, whereby learners, as they choose, you know, they've got a variety of these questions that are of the same strength. Okay, so we try to avoid the aspect of learners choosing, because you know, definitely you have got also preferences as you are trying to construct your essay questions as a teacher. So in order to avoid those preferences, okay, we also try to avoid addressing questions of that are optional in nature. Not that they are not there, but questions exist. But if you are good in developing optional questions and then clearly categorizing them to say, okay, this question, the strength is like this, this question, the strength is like this, well and good. Okay. But why is it that we avoid them is because of trying to avoid the aspect of you going through the hardship of trying to make sure to say you're providing questions of the same strength. Okay, so now when learners answer different questions, they actually they are taking different tests in nature. Okay, they are taking different tests in nature. Here is a teacher that provides maybe 5 questions. Okay, 5 questions, and then you say, okay, answer any 3 or answer any 2. You are giving yourself unnecessary work. You see that? Of course, you are able to answer those questions, but you are giving yourself unnecessary works to have 2 tests within one exam. Because there are 3 questions that your learners are going to answer. So you are going to give them that situation whereby they are able to answer three different tests within one exam. Okay, learners will choose question 1. Okay, another one will come and choose question 2, and then another one, maybe 5 learners will choose question 1, and then maybe another set of, you see you have that challenge of having maybe you have a class of about 20 learners, and then maybe out of those 20 learners, the others will answer question, maybe 5 will answer question 1, and then another 10 will come and answer question 2. You see that? So there will be that varying. aspect, distribution of answers, okay, which is not also advised, okay? It's not very much advised. And then the other thing that we have to look at is that the use of optional questions affects reliability. How reliable was your test? Because you have got difficulties in establishing test items that have got the same strength. So definitely you're going to affect the reliability of the tests. You see that? Okay. Because you have challenges in coming up with test items that have got the same strength. So definitely your test will be highly unreliable. Because, you know, because the learners will just target the simple questions. Okay, they will just target the simple questions. Okay, okay. Brian Winde says, yes, sir. It gives a challenge in preparing the marking key. Exactly, Brian. Exactly. You have challenges in coming up with a marking key for your questions. Okay, and even scoring those very questions becomes a tedious thing. You see that? So that is the thing that is bad about there. Okay, remember from the onset I've said these questions exist. They are there. Okay, but if you want to handle them, okay, if you want to handle them, please take into consideration what I've talked about. Okay, take into consideration what I've talked about. Okay, are there any questions related to tip number 2? Anyone that has got something to add on?
Okay, so I just.
Yes, Otidia.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
How about maybe on the same as these types of questions? How about you just put two questions? Just put 2 questions. If the learners don't answer A, then they are answering B. Is it also a bad move?
No, provided you give them the same strength. You see, the guiding principle is that these learners should have equal opportunities of answering either of the 2. Are you getting me, Otiro?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone with a different suggestion from what I've talked about? Sorry, I needed to ask you that question before I could respond to that question. Anyone with a different view? Pethias?
No.
Okay. Peter?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
Yes.
think I didn't get the question from Material properly.
You didn't get the question. Yeah, Otiria was trying to find out to say, suppose we just create 2 questions. Okay, suppose we create 2 questions. Okay, those 2 questions, don't they qualify to maybe be given to say, okay, these can be given to our learners? That was Otiria's question. Okay, now in my response I said, provided those 2 questions have got the same strength. Okay, are we able to get Peter? Peter?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you getting any sense from what I'm talking about?
Very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So the guiding principle when you are making up these tests is, do you have the necessary guiding principles for it? Okay, so that is one other thing that is very important. in case there are no questions, let's move on to
Okay,
the.
sir, just there.
Yeah, yes,
Just
Otilia.
there.
Uh-huh.
So, sir, in short, you are saying that since you said provided those questions have got the same strength. So, in short, you are saying if under Bloom's taxonomy, question A falls under evaluation, even question B should fall under evaluation.
Anyone to assist me on that one? To help us on that one? Otilia is trying to say, okay, if a question is falling under evaluation, look at application, look at, yes, Mwinga.
So I think according to me, let me just say, I think the learners, yeah, the question is supposed to come from the same level in Bloom's taxonomy. And when you say the question is supposed to have the same strength, let me say the first question and the second question, since they have got the same marks, even the number of points that a particular learner is expected to put out should be like equal. Something.
Yes. Otilia. Yes. Have you gotten his argument?
Yes, I have, sir.
Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just amplify on Mwinga's response. Mwinga's response is a good one. Mwinga's response is trying to tell us to say, well, one, let them have the same marks. Same strength means the same marks. Okay, and when you are trying to look at levels according to Bloom's taxonomy, please look at the same level. If you are trying to look at the application, the question is trying to look at maybe evaluation. Okay, make sure to say you restrict yourself. If at all you are going to have application and evaluation in the same question, try to look at it from that perspective where you gather the two levels together. Not a situation where here the question is at knowledge level, and then maybe question one is at knowledge level, and then question two comes and looks at maybe evaluation. You see that? So you look at the two levels. One is at recall, okay? And then maybe the other one is at application level. You see? So you are going to have difficulties in allocating marks to these two questions that you have had, okay? Because I'll tell you, learners will go maybe at and answer a question at knowledge level within a few minutes, and then they are done. And those that would have chosen question two will struggle because they're trying to look at it from in an evaluation point of view. Okay, Ziwa, are we together?
Yes, we are together, sir.
Okay, thank you. Otilia, have I answered your question properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then tip number two. Okay, let me just give you an example of before we go to tip number two. Okay, look at this question. I just got an extract of this question that was presented in one of your questions. So look at, this is section C. Out together. This is section C. Look at the way a desirable question was. Okay. So this section carries 40 marks. Please, can you answer all the questions? Okay. And then there are two questions that are there provided. Okay. Okay. Schemes of work for week 1. Okay. And then a lesson plan for the first day of the. So these are operating at which level according to Bloom's taxonomy? They are operating at which level? Yes, gently.
I think they are on application level.
Exactly, exactly. They are trying to see if at all the learner is able to apply what they've learned. Are the learners able to develop a scheme of work? Are you seeing that what? Are the learners able to develop a lesson plan? Meaning they've learned how to scheme. They've learned how to create a lesson plan. So you are targeting the question at the same level according to Bloom's taxonomy. They are not diverging where a question is saying to say, okay, this one will disadvantage learners if at all they are going to answer it. And look at the allocation of marks. Okay, these are allocation of marks this is a desirable question. The allocation of marks is the same. The allocation of the way the learners, thank you, Brian. He says application level. Thank you. Okay, so you look at the guiding principles carefully, and those are the ones that are going to guide you on how you are going to proceed with your question. Okay, so even when an essay question comes in class, okay, you are writing an exam, you are able to see to say, this question was poorly constructed. Okay, even you as students, okay, you are able to see to say, okay, fine, this one is poorly constructed. I think it is disadvantaging the learners because of the way it is constructed. Okay, this was just an example of a desirable. Yes, Mwinga. Hello. Yes. Is it Peter or Mwinga?
Peter, sir.
Yes, Peter.
So what about those questions whereby they have different marks? How are they formulated? There are some questions.
Like which ones, of course?
It's not all whereby
is it an essay?
In some papers.
Uh-huh.
Yes, in essay section C, essay
Yeah.
part.
Yes.
Some questions have you find that it has 20 marks, and then another one has 30. What are the differences between?
Okay, so yes. So that section, do they say answer all questions in this section, or they tell you to say, can you choose?
They do say choose.
Choose. And then there's a problem there.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's a problem there. Anyone to explain on what problem that could be arising from such a question?
Yes, I think
yes.
Like the ones like Peter, the ones we are looking at, like optional questions. If question one has two questions, let those two questions have the same marks. If you tell the learners to say no, choose between these two questions, A or B, then you should make sure these questions they should have the same marks. Because if they have different marks, then all the learners want to choose that one that has got a lot of marks. Now, even those who, provided you don't know the question, like you don't understand the question, but you go for it because it's the one that has got a lot of marks. So I would just say that if question one has two questions, let them have the same mark.
Let them have the same marks. Okay. Anyone to add on what Oturia has said? Anyone with a different view in responding to Peter's question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ziwa.
Yeah, so according to what Peter has asked, if the question are formulated in that way, meaning the teacher is not being fair to the learners, because you find that some will find it easy to answer the question which has low marks, which is 20, then others will be finding it easy to answer the question which has 8 marks. So it is good that when constructing this question, we must follow like the way you are saying. They must have different scores for the learners to deserve what they will answer in the exam.
Anyone with a different one? Anyone with a different response about Peter's question? Yes, Peter.
Okay, so I think I'm now clear.
You are now clear. Eh?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So you have to avoid the aspect of being unfair to your learners. Avoid by all costs to be unfair to your learners because you're not progressing in any way. Okay? Let them have equal distribution of results. It also gives you an opportunity to present your work in a scholarly manner. Okay? To show, to say you are giving the learners direction. Not a situation whereby you are telling your learners to say, let them answer as they wish. No. Okay? Let them have that situation whereby they are able to be restricted to say, okay, they can't go beyond this. They have to just look at it from this angle. If it's an application level, if it is an at the evaluation level, make sure to say you are all looking at the skills that you want to achieve at that level for both questions. Not a situation whereby you go and look at a question that is at synthesis level, and then you bring in a question that is maybe at understanding level. No. You see? Okay. You are going to affect your learners. Are we together? Are we together? Can I hear people say something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we go to tip number 3. Yes, Mdenda.
Yes, sir.
Mdenda, you want to say something?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, tip number 3. Okay, tip number 3, very important. Very, very important. Okay, tip number 3, very, very important. Okay, okay. What does tip number 3 talk about? Tip number 3 talks about the aspect of restrict the use of essay questions to those learning outcomes. To those learning outcomes that cannot be measured satisfactorily for objective questions. Okay? Number 1 that you have to look at is that if you are trying to talk about questions in essay form, okay? Okay? Leave, okay? Restrict. This question is saying, this point is saying to say, restrict the use of essay questions to those outcomes that cannot be measured satisfactorily by objective questions. Okay? Remember, we looked at objective questions such as multiple choice and short and filling the blanks. Okay? So you are trying to answer short answer questions. Okay? Short answer questions, filling in the blanks. Okay? Okay? And then you have got these objective questions, subjective questions. Okay? Say, for instance, you are trying to say, discuss computer input devices. Okay? You can't definitely take the aspect of discuss in multiple choice question. Can you? Huh? Hello? Class, are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I was saying to say,
Yes, sir.
you look at objective questions. Okay? Those are filling in the blanks. Okay? Filling in the blanks. Okay. Okay. For instance, you are given to fill in the blanks of input devices that a learner can see. You provide the learner's input devices. Okay. You say, okay, here is your input devices. There's a joystick, there's a mouse. Okay. And the learners are supposed to filling in the blanks in those particular questions. Okay. So those are objective in nature. But if you are trying to discuss the computer input devices, okay, you can't get your question to go and appear under objective kind of questions. Because there are two different levels. You are looking at a learner giving answers at knowledge level. Are they able to recall? And maybe a learner's question may be discussed, which is maybe at synthesis level or maybe at the application level. Okay, so there are two different situations. So if you want to talk about essay questions, can you restrict them to outcomes that you can't examine, you can't measure at maybe at understanding level or maybe at knowledge level, so that viendeko kusogolo, let them go somewhere maybe at maybe application level or evaluation level or thesis level, as it were. Okay, so not you just start now bringing questions that you are mambo jumbled. Okay, let them make sure to say those questions that you can't examine satisfactorily at objective level, put them under essay question. Okay, and then other things being equal, objective measures have the advantage of efficiency and reliability. Okay, so you know, you're looking at some of the advantages that we looked at when we were looking at filling in the brackets of type of question, is that one, they are very efficient because you are just trying to examine the learners and knowledge on something. Okay, you are just trying to examine the learner's knowledge about something, the learner's understanding about something. Okay. So those questions are very reliable. Altogether, they are very reliable and they are very efficient. Meaning to say, within a short period of time, you give the answers and you give the questions, and the learners are able to give you the responses as required. But now, looking at these essay questions, they will need you to have a little bit of more time. Okay? They will need you to have a little bit of more time. Okay? So you look at those questions that require time, that can not be answered at levels lower than low levels, maybe at knowledge level. Are there any contribution for tip number 3 and any questions? Okay. Are there any questions? Any contributions? You could either put it in our chat group or maybe raise up your hand and tell us to say, okay, this is what is there. Okay. Otiria says, okay. Everyone, can we respond? Okay. Mwinga says, clear.
Very much clear, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Okay, so we proceed to the last one, the last tip. Okay. Tip number 4. Very important, ladies and gentlemen. Very important. Okay. Prepare students or learners to take essay exams. Why is it important for learners to if I may ask? I'll go back to the previous slide. Why is it important for us to, yes, Pethius?
I think it is very necessary to teach them how to answer essay questions and how to write them.
Okay. Why is it important? To what benefit?
I think so that I think it will help them to write their answers in a coherent way, or in a coherent manner.
Thank you. Yes.
Rather than, yes.
Yeah, coherence is what is very important when we are talking about essay questions. Okay. So we don't want to have questions that are mambo jumbo. Elena talks about this, Elena talks about that. So we want to have learners, when they want to speak, let them speak one thing at a time. Let there be an introduction. Let there be a main body. Let there be a conclusion. Any other Mdenda? Kindly say something. Ziwa, are we okay?
Yes, we're okay.
Yes. So when we talk about preparing learners, okay, essays tests are valid measures for students' achievement only if learners or students know how to take them. Okay? They are only varied and can only be reliable if one, learners know how to take them. If they don't know, okay, then that means you are being unfair as a teacher. I've seen a situation where a teacher is not prepared and just goes inside and then say, no, Nzaba Pasa check a question so that you are make an essay. No. Okay. Don't test your learners merely because you have not prepared as a teacher yourself to go and teach. Okay. You just go and dream about assessing the learners when you have not even taught them what to teach. Unless you did rehearse with your learners to say, okay, we are going to have this exercise. Okay? Don't go and ambush your learners. Don't. That is evil. Okay? You don't do that. Make sure to say you go and rehearse with the learners. You would have taught your learners what you're going to assess them on. Not a situation whereby you go and ambush your learners by testing them something that they don't understand. So if this will only be valid, it will only be valid, okay? It will only be valid assessment if at all you have taught the learners what they are supposed to answer, how they should answer it. If you have not taught the learners, then that means you as a teacher, you have a problem. And that tendency is not a good tendency. It is evil. Okay? It is evil to ambush your learners. Number two, take some class time to tell your learners how to prepare for and how to take an essay exam. Okay? Let them not just go into a class and then you provide them with answer script to say, can you answer this question that I'm going to prepare on the board? No, it's seriously unacceptable. Let your learners know to say, this is supposed to be how we are supposed to answer these questions. Okay? For instance, in that question that I talked about, that I give you, this desirable question, okay? It was at application level, okay? So learners, you don't have known how to write a scheme of work, how to construct a lesson plan. Okay? You would have known. Meaning to say you are expected to apply the knowledge that you understand at those particular levels. Okay? So for you now to go and give your learners, meaning to say the learners already have background information. Not a situation whereby learners don't have background information, you go and ambush them by giving them something that they don't understand. Make sure you give the learners what you would have taught them. Okay? Give the learners what you have taught them. And make sure to say you provide time for your learners. Time is very important when they are being assessed. Okay? So make sure to say you take into consideration the aspect of time. How much time are they going to answer these questions? Okay? So don't just go and prepare questions in a Mwambuko stars kind of arrangement where everyone is free for all. No. Okay? Your test will be valid and reliable enough when you take into consideration the principles of administering a test and also developing a test. Not a situation whereby you go and just ambush your learners and say, okay, fine,